I've been teaching this class for quite a few years. I've lived all over Arizona. I was in Yuma for about 15 years. Now in Prescott. I like the weather here better. In fact, I don't know if you all realize how lucky you are to live in Prescott. You've got fresh air, fresh water, beautiful climate. And look at this pool hall.
Yeah.
Wow, Barefoot Bob's. Who would have thought that we have all brand new dining tables and all this? And again, I want to encourage you to ask questions throughout. I've been teaching pool for, I don't know, about 25 years now. I'm 72 years old now. But this is my passion. I play a lot of tournaments. I captain teams. I play leagues. I've been in tournaments like all over the United States. But what really gives me a lot of joy about pool is the fact that I can help people become better players. And you know what? People approach me a lot and they ask me questions. They said, well, Pete, how do I become a good pool player? What do you think their answer is?
Practice.
Well, that's a big part of it. And I think Steve Miserak was famous for practice, practice, practice. But what does it really take on the inside to be a good pool player?
Passion.
Exactly. Passion, love for the game. The more passion you have for what you're doing, the more you're going to improve. And you know what? It requires something else that I think I want to talk about too. And that's, an open mind. Today we're going to diagnose some of the issues you might have, but mainly we're going to look at trying to get your body correctly aligned with your target. And that may sound like a small thing, but it's a huge thing. And we're going to spend quite a bit of time. And I actually have drills, set up on the table that help you determine that. Now, again, as we progress through this, feel free to jump in and ask any questions that you have. Before we actually get into the actual instruction, I'd like to go around the room and just introduce yourself so we know you better. That's a big part of the first class. I want you to have fun. In fact, if you're not having fun in this class, I want you to let me know. Because that's what it's all about. And when you think about pool, that's one of the great things about pocket billiards is that no matter your age, your height, or whatever, whatever the background you have, pool can always be fun. And that's what we're looking to do here. Why don't we start with Cliff? And as part of your introduction, tell me what you did, not necessarily what you want to learn, but tell me what shots give you the biggest problem. And that we'd likely to help you learn how to do. We'll start with Cliff.
My name's Cliff, and I miss. Not all the time, but consistency is a problem. We were talking a little bit earlier about lining up in my eyes, and I can't wear glasses when I play.
Yeah.
So my ophthalmologist can't believe I play pool without glasses. But anyway, seeing the center of the cue ball when I'm lining up,
right.
I have to work really hard at that. Make adjustments. So just hitting it straight is one thing I need to work
Now, one of the things happened to Cliff earlier, he made a beautiful shot, went in the center of the pocket, but his cue ball was doing that, was spinning over there. I can't overemphasize how important it is just to learn the simple basic of hitting the center of the cue ball. Now, you might see a lot of things where people are using all this fancy English where the ball's spinning around the table. Well, you want to learn to master the vertical axis, all right? Because that's going to allow you to do what Cliff is saying, be more consistent. Yeah.
I just want to be able to know that what I'm doing is more than just luck.
All right.
Well said.
And you see a lot of that in the league, actually, where people will just bang the balls around sometimes, hoping. To be a really good pool player, you have to have a specific image in your brain of what you want to do. In fact, that's part of your pre-shot routine, is while you're standing up above your shot, you're visualizing the ball going in and where the cue ball should end up. That's the mental side of the game. Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, Mike. And my biggest problem is finding position.
Oh.
Like what you just said, trying to figure out where the ball's going to end up.
Right.
And, I struggle trying to get past that.
Yeah, and once you can hit the ball where you're aiming, that's number one.
Yeah.
But once you can actually hit the ball where you're aiming, you're going to make the balls. That's only part of it, is leaving the ball. Then it is playing position, which is a huge part of the game, especially as your skill level rises. Thanks, Mike.
I'm Cindy, and I'm sorry to tell you I know nothing about pool.
All right, no problem. Hey, you're in the right place.
I'm like way a beginner,
Yeah,
so
okay.
I just want to get a little skill. I like some skill.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, we'll try to, get you lined up today and diagnose any issues that you have as far as, your pre-shot routine.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
I am, well, like Cindy, I'm a total beginner. Every now and then it goes in, and I have no idea why. I don't even know what questions to ask. I don't even know where to begin talking about it. So
Okay, no problem.
nowhere to go but up from there, hopefully.
No, we're gonna have a lot of fun. Thanks, Beth.
Hi, I'm Steve. I've got the same problems everyone else, of course. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a quote, Pat mentioned a thing about luck. It says, after skill and intellect, that's where luck comes.
Interesting. All right. Well, thanks, Stephen. Bob.
Yes, Bob, hi. My biggest issues are hitting the ball consistently in the middle.
Oh.
And the cut shots are still my nemesis. But the big thing is I have a tendency to hit high or low on the cue ball and not in the middle, which creates all sorts of problems.
And I know Bob because he took my class before. And he has a tendency to align his cue too high on the cue ball because his head is a little bit high above the shot. One of the things that that we're going to work on today is it's very similar to almost like shooting a rifle. You ever think about that? Because your eye is looking right down the barrel. Okay, in a very interesting way in pool, if you can actually spread your feet out just a little more and get your head a little closer to the shaft, you'll have a better view of the shot. But I want to emphasize everything starts from aiming while you're standing up above the shot. In other words, that's the key to correct alignment. If you're just for example, if I'm shooting this 3 ball in the corner, I don't get down and start moving my body around until I get the proper aim. What I'll do with a shot like this is I'll get my eyes in the perfect position where I see exactly on the 3 ball where I want to hit. And then from there, I can very easily step my left foot into the shot and bend into the shot like this. And I haven't lost that aim point, have I? And my eyes are still perfectly aligned. So that's kind of what we're going to look at today. Now logistics here, ladies' room is over here. The men's room is on the other side. I think Dusty's going to have coffee for us each time. And you're welcome to bring, I see a lot of people have their own cues, and that's good. Eventually when you play enough pool, you're going to notice that if you do have your own cue, your ability to play better will rise, because it's almost like a part of your body after a while. Like if I grab the cue off the rack over there, I would feel really awkward because I play with this cue probably 500 hours a year or more. So it's kind of important. And the tip of your cue is really important. We talked about this with Beth and Cindy. And I just want to say a few things about equipment. You know, based on the heights of the people in here, I think about either a 17, 18, or 19 ounce would be appropriate for all of you. But, you know, I'm not sure how much money you really want to spend on buying a cue. But, you know, cues can range in prices from $50 up to, you know, thousands of dollars. Because you have all these fancy cue makers that'll have all these fancy inlays, you know, special wood, you know, ferrules, and now you have something new called carbon fiber, which all the pros are using, which is, you know, something that we don't really need to worry about. Now, one of the things that I like to start the class with is quotes. I'll have one for each class. And the one is right on your handout, and you don't need your handout right now. I'll just go ahead and read it. But this is a quote from one of the best players in the world, who is the captain of our Moscone Cup team. He said this: "It took me years of practice to realize that a poor stance or setup is the primary culprit in causing a poor stroke or missed shot." So the way we set up to the shot and stand at the table is crucially important. And you know, when I think about that, I think about your eyes. And Cliff mentioned something about dominant eyes. I don't want you to worry about which eye is dominant. Some people have a left eye dominant, some people have a right eye dominant. What's more important when you're standing up above a shot, like I'm looking at this 3 ball, now if I move my head slightly this side, oh, I'm off from my target. If I move my head slightly to the right, I'm also off, aren't I? So when you find the perfect line, the way your eyes see the shot, just keep your head in that position. And you'll notice I kind of use my cue too to help me align with the shot. Now, some people will swing it from one side or the other, but I like to hold the cue right on that line. It's almost like a crosshair on a telescopic sight of a gun. And that way, when I step into the shot, my cue lays right down in the line. And so when I get down in the shot, guess what? I don't have to adjust one way or the other. And that's what we want to kind of work on today. We call that your pre-shot routine. Now, another thing about pocket billiards is that it's not a tension sport, all right? When you're actually playing your best pool, your whole body should be completely relaxed. So you'll notice in my handout, you know, I want you to find your aim point while standing. But the second thing I want you to do, breathe and relax. Let all your muscles get loose. The more tense you are, the less, more rigid your stroke will be. And you want everything completely relaxed, so when you swing the cue back, you're actually like kind of letting it go, release all the way through the ball. We call that a follow-through. Now, if you're grabbing too tight on the cue, rigid in the shoulder or arm, there is no follow-through, is there? Because you're like sawing wood or something, right? So I say, breathe and relax, non-tension sport. And that is unbelievably important, because I give a lot of lessons and people want to grab that cue like they're holding on for dear life. Okay? And that's not the way to become a good pool player. Find the aim point of the shot, all right, while standing up above the shot. In fact, when you find the aim point, you're going to notice that your cue, your chin, and your right foot are pretty much on that line. So you notice my body is kind of at a slight angle to the right. Now, if you're left-handed, it'll be a slight angle to the left. Now, that's important, because when you actually step into the shot with my left foot, you want to have enough clearance by your hip so you can actually stroke the cue. And you'll notice I'm taking a couple of warm-up strokes here. And that's really important. It's kind of like rehearsing, kind of rehearsing the actual shot. And when you're doing your warm-up strokes, you can kind of tell if you're staying on the target line. Now, I do want to give you some drills to work on. And you'll notice I have some sticks with red lines on them here, and some donuts on the table. But let's start, and I think we'll go this direction this time. Yeah, because I can go right into the camera, it will be easier. And you'll notice at the very center of the wooden stick is a red line. Now the center of the pocket when you're shooting pool is always the center of the outer jaw. You don't aim the shot or the cue ball back here. You always aim at the center of the outer jaw. Okay. Now, I'll go ahead and put my cue ball on this donut here. And you'll notice that it's going right over the center spot, aligned perfectly with that red line in the middle. Okay, well let's go over the pre-shot routine, and this is something you can actually practice. All right, right now we're not going to shoot an object ball yet. We're just going to practice getting down in the shot so we're aligned with the target. Okay? So on this particular shot, I'm seeing that red line in the middle of the wood stick, and I'm standing right behind the cue ball. All right, now again, if I move one way or the other, I'm off that line. But I want you to kind of use your cue and your eyes and step forward into the shot and swing down. Now you'll notice I've been playing pool for like 50 years, so pretty much every time I can get my cue perfectly aligned with the red line. Now one thing you're going to notice as you step into the shot is sometimes you'll be over like this or like that or left side of the ball, whatever it might be. Get up and start over. Get up and start over. In other words, you want to learn to step into the shot so you don't have to do any radical adjustments once you get down. So I'm just going to practice stepping down into the shot until I can perfectly keep my body aligned. Good. See, draw that line all the way back, swing down. And if I do get offline, if I can see that I'm off to one side or the other, I'll stand back up, adjust my feet, swing back down. Now, one thing that I do want to emphasize is that as we're doing this, you want to learn to visualize. And I know that's kind of a woo-woo term, right? You know, when you're shooting pool, you want to have a clear image in your brain about where you want the cue ball to go, the object ball, and all that. And the more you can learn to do that, the more your body will respond appropriately. Okay? And I know that sounds like a mental part of the game, but it's very important. All right, now after you've done that, maybe 10 times, practice getting up and down in the shot. That's drill number 1. Just until you can get down every time so your cue is perfectly aligned with the red line. Now we're going to actually shoot the ball, the cue ball, okay? All right, we've practiced getting up and down in the shot so we can get down every time. So this time, I'm going to actually take a few warm-up strokes and shoot right into that red line. All right, I see my target, draw my line all the way back. Breathe and relax, visualize, swing down, take a few warm-up strokes. Stay down until you hear the ball in the back of the pocket. You notice I kept my head still. The only thing that moved was my arm and wrist and hand. Okay? Let's do that a few more times. And this is something I want you to practice and work with your partner. You know, if you're not hitting the red line, it's usually because you're not correctly aligned. So you want to readjust your feet. The feet are incredibly important, okay? Like, you'll notice my cue is like this. I turn my feet this way, that way. It turns the cue, and then that will throw your shoulder and arm and everything off. So a lot of times when you're not hitting the target, it's because your feet are misaligned. I kind of use my right big toe to stay on the line. Swing down, take a few warm-up strokes. And stay down until you hear the ball come back in the pocket. Now, a lot of you are going to want to jump up there to see where the ball's going. That is a big flaw, okay? All right? Thanks. And I want you to do that, practice that until you can hit the red line. You know, that's kind of drill number 2. Now, here's what happens if you're misaligned when you get down. I'm going to purposely do that this time. Okay, I got down, and look, my cue is aimed to the left of the pocket. I'm way off. All right, you don't adjust back like that. You stand back up. Readjust your feet, swing back down. Oh, perfect. Now I'm in the line. Stay down till you hear the ball come back in the line. Okay, any questions so far? I mean, those are just 2, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I know you were talking about you hit the middle of the ball, but aren't there shots where you have to chrome off the side of the ball to, like, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And then it'll go back. You don't always hit.
Well, actually, you know, we're going to start off, you know, hitting straight in shots, but you notice I have a drill for cut shots we're going to do also for today. And that's what you're talking about, where it caroms off the ball.
Yeah, where you wouldn't necessarily hit the middle of the ball. You might hit the side of the ball too, right?
Exactly.
Oh.
Now, when you cut the ball, like Bob was saying, it's a little bit harder. Your aiming has to be more precise, okay? Because, you know, but I'll get into that in just a minute. And again, I forgot to talk about the chalk. Real important. All right. Usually you watch a big player play. Almost every shot they chalk their cue. Now there is a good way, a proper way to chalk your cue, and a not so proper way. You'll notice when I chalk my cue, I hold my cube of chalk at a 45-degree angle, and I just go around the outside edge of the tip. Now, when you hit the ball in the center of the tip, you can't miscue. Miscues all occur on the outside edge of the tip. So you'll notice I hold it at a 45-degree angle, just go all the way around like that. That's all you need to do. Okay. And I notice a lot of people want to grind it in there too tightly, but you don't. Just a nice soft edge. And when you put the chalk back on the rail, be kind to your opponent. Always hold the chalk up so it doesn't get all over the rail if you turn it down. Okay. Yeah?
What does the chalk do?
Oh, the chalk is real important because the tip is made out of leather, and sometimes it gets real slick. And it'll slip off the cue ball, and you call that a miscue. You hear this horrible sound. Okay? But the chalk gives it extra friction, so when the cue tip hits the cue ball, it won't slide up and miscue. And there are tools that help you rough up the tip a little bit so the chalk holds better. And I'll show you that as well. All right, let's throw a wrench in the workings now. Here's another little part of your drill, drill number 3. We're going to put 2 intervening balls behind the ball I'm shooting, and I'm going to continue to try to hit that red line. The reason why I'm doing this is because you need to have a perfectly level, straight stroke that goes straight. The reason why we put the little wooden stick on top is because we all have a tendency to jump up too quick and see where the ball's going. So in this shot, I'm going to do everything the same. Breathe and relax. Find my aim point. Visualize the shot. I'm going to try to hit that red stick. right foot on the line, draw the line all the way back, swing down, left foot forward. Perfect, perfect. Stay down to the ball hit the back of the pocket. You'll notice when you're doing this, you might hit the 6th ball, you might hit the 2 ball, you might knock the stick off. But you know, if you practice this for a while, you're going to have a nice, beautiful, level stroke. Okay? Let's just do that a couple more times. Breathe and relax. Nice loose shoulders. Find the aim point. Draw the line all the way back. Swing down a foot. Take a few nice warm-up strokes. And one of the things you're going to notice, and I'll show you an example of it, is that sometimes when you shoot the cue ball, and I'll use a stripe to demonstrate this, okay? Sometimes when you're shooting the cue ball, I want you to notice what the 11 ball does this time. I'll do my whole pre-shot routine. Swing down. What'd you notice that time? Anything? You can spin it. And that's because I hit the left side of the cue ball. And that's what you want to observe when you're doing this. Because if you're hitting the ball with spin, your chances of making the ball is not that great. Not until you become a more advanced player where you can actually apply English accurately, which is quite a challenge. Okay, those three drills I encourage you to work on. And now what I'd like to do is show you how to aim a cut shot. Anybody, you know, and cut shots are interesting shots because we have to aim a little bit different.
Hey Pete, I had
Yeah, go ahead.
a question.
Yeah,
I
sure.
noticed you changed your grip a couple times. You went from open to close. Is there one particular one that you...
Oh yeah, okay, let's talk about that. Mike just asked a very good question. He was talking about the bridge, right, on my left hand. Okay. That's on your handout as well. But there are two main bridges in pool. You have what's called the open and the closed bridge. I use both. It depends on the shot.
Okay.
Like for a lot of times, let's say I want to make the 14 and follow the cue ball forward. So when I do my pre-shot routine, I'm going to hit the cue ball a little high so it has a little overspin. And I use what's called an open bridge, which means on my thumb and my first knuckle is going to slide across there. And that's a perfectly accurate bridge. You don't have to use a closed bridge in pool. Because guess what? In Canada, Great Britain, places all over the world, they don't put their finger over the top at all. They all use open bridges. And one of the reasons they do that is when you put your finger over the top, in some cases it obstructs your vision of the shot. Okay? But sometimes I do use a closed bridge. Let's say that I want to make the 14 and draw the cue ball back to the 2 ball. Now in that case, I'm going to loop my pointer finger right over the top so it hooks along my thumb. That way when I get down to the shot, I'm going to hit it below center. Now the reason why I have this over the top is I don't want the cue to pop up in the air. I want it to stay low all the way through. That way the backspin can bring it back. So some shots, I'll put my finger over the top and use a closed bridge. Other ones, I'll do this. But either one works fine. Okay? And we get, you know, when we do our individual instruction after this, we can discuss that. But if I'm using a little backspin, I definitely have to chalk the cue because it's very easy to miscue when you hit the cue ball low. Pre-shot routine, relax. See the aim point. Visualize, swing down. Take a few warm-up strokes. And you'll notice how low I'm hitting now. And that way I bring it back. But that way you notice I didn't lift the top of the cue. Good question, Mike. All right, let's do a few cut shots now.
Can you
Yeah.
tell us what a cut shot is?
Okay, yeah. This is I see I have the two donuts here. If I was doing a straight in shot, this would be straight in. I kind of measured these out earlier. Now, a cut shot is any shot where the cue ball caroms off the object ball at an angle. That's called a cut shot.
That's most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. You know, you're exactly right, Jeff. You very rarely get a perfectly straight in shot. Hey, what do we got here?
Oh, that's another one.
Oh, no. All right, you'll notice that the two ball in the corner pocket is a slight bit of a cut. It's not much, but it's a little bit. Now, does anybody have any suggestions of how I can aim it? What should I do?
I would hit on the
Left side of the two ball. Let me just use one of my training aids to show you how that works. And this will kind of explain what I can't put in words. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this little, and you can come closer to the table to see this. I'm going to set this training tool here, and I'm aiming the arrow right at the center of the pocket. Let me make sure it is aimed right at the center. That looks pretty close, doesn't it? Is that right on? All right. Put the two ball on here. Now you see this circle right before the two ball? That's called a ghost ball. All right. Now in order to make the two ball, I can't aim at the center of the two, the contact point. Otherwise, I'll hit it too thick. So the aiming point on a cut shot is actually a half ball behind where the cue ball contacts the cue ball. So if you see if I'm aiming directly at that white donut in the middle, it'll hit right here. And the two ball goes directly in the center pocket. And you can call this a ghost ball, or just know that you have to aim a half ball behind where the cue ball contacts. And that's why cut shots are so much harder than straight shots. But in a real game, obviously, you can't use a training aid like this. But look how easy it is. If I aim directly at that white donut in the middle, I should make the two ball directly in the pocket. But I do everything the same as I did with a straight-in shot, only my aim point has to be either the center of the ghost ball or a half ball behind the contact. And this is something, you know, you can practice today because I have it set up like this. And I'm seeing my aim point from above. Breathe and relax. Visualize. Draw that line all the way back. Swing down. You get it right on the donut. Make a few warm-up strokes. The warm-up strokes are real important because they allow you to kind of laser in your aim. And I hit that a little hard. I didn't need to hit that hard. In fact, you do want to learn to hit balls at a pocket speed, which means they're more liable. The pocket will be more likely to accept the shot. If you hit it too hard, if it's off slightly, it'll just bounce off and bounce away. This time I'll hit it more pocket speed. And this is something you can practice when do a little bit more cut this time. This time I have about a half ball hit. But again, no matter where the cue ball is located, anywhere around on a cut shot, this is always the correct aim point. The aim point is always a half ball from the contact point. So it doesn't really matter where the cue ball is. The aim point will remain the same. Anyway, that's something you can work on in practice. So I've got the 3 drills, with the straight in, and then we can work on actually doing a few cut shots. And while you're working with your partner, I do encourage you to really work on the straight in shot for the day, because that's probably the most important right now. And again, the pre-shot routine is so important. Anybody play tennis here?
I do.
Okay. You ever watch Roger Federer serve a tennis ball?
He's an artist.
What do you notice about Roger Federer when he serves a tennis ball?
130 miles an hour.
What does he do?
He keeps his eye on the ball.
Okay, your eye on the ball, that's important. But he has the exact same pre-shot routine on every serve. And that's what you want to encourage in your own pool group. Because the pre-shot routine is your comfort zone. What you do on every shot. Kind of like the steps that you go through. Like for me, it's standing up here and breathing and relax, finding my aim point, draw that line all the way back, swing down. In other words, if you watch me play pool on video, you'll notice I do the exact same thing every time. And when you can do that, you're in your comfort zone. You don't have to, then you don't start thinking or worrying about missing the shot or whatever it might be. But work on this straight in shot, because it really will help you quite a bit. Okay, that's about it. And I'm going to come around and work with each of you individually, but I encourage you to find a partner right now that you can practice, give each other feedback on those drills, and have at it. Any questions before we break up into pairs here? Yeah.
When you were talking about pocket speed, as opposed to hitting it too hard.
Right.
But sometimes I notice that the white ball will go with the ball and scratch with the ball.
Right.
And the way I was told to keep that from happening is hit it sort of like a, and the white ball was not moved.
Okay. Yeah, that's called a stun or a stop shot.
Yeah.
Let me demonstrate that real quick, because that really is important. That's what we're going to do like in class number 2. But, generally, if I hit the cue ball anywhere above center, the cue ball is going to go forward quite a bit, and I can scratch for it easily, okay? But if I hit the ball either in the direct center of the cue ball or a little bit below, watch what happens. In fact, I'll hit it just slightly below center this time. We call this a stop shot.
Oh, wow.
And you notice I had to stroke it a little bit. The stop shot, what's happening when I hit the cue ball, it slides along the clock. It doesn't have any overspin or backspin. So when it hits the object ball, it stops dead like that. And in pool, that's a critical shot. You really need that in your arsenal. And that'll be, no, that's the wrong word. Sorry.
All right, 2 more.
I guess I'm getting a little competitive in my old age.
Watch out, I got my arsenal full.
But anyway, in class number 2, we're going to really hit the stop shot hard. Everybody needs to master that as part of this class.
So the stop shot was either below or at the middle, but it's not speed.
No.
Speed's
You
not.
notice, but I do need enough stroke so the cue ball doesn't start to turn over. If the cue ball turns over on the weight of the object ball as you go forward, it has to be sliding along the cloth when it hits. Okay, any other questions? Good ones. I'll remember that arsenal. That's good. I like that. Anybody else? Steven, you got anything? They tell your wheels are spinning.
Think about the stop shot. You have 6 inches before friction comes into play and the ball starts to roll.
Right. Exactly. That was the scientific version. And he's exactly right. Because once the cue ball stops sliding and the friction of the table takes over, the cue ball will start rolling over and it'll go forward. That's why pool is such a hard game, you know? Because you have to have, there's so many variables you have to master.
Yeah, you gotta know your physics.
Exactly.
Let's go, girl.
All right, have at it. I'll be coming around.